Hi everyone and welcome to this video where we're going to take a look at why driving instructor pass rates mean very little. I'm going to give you 10 good reasons why you shouldn't trust them, and I'm going to leave you with a little riddle to think about at the end, a little puzzle which will get you thinking about why instructors with the highest pass rates are not necessarily the best instructors. Number one is that driving instructors can choose which results are recorded and which ones are not recorded. So the way it works is when an examiner gets in a car to do a driving test, they pick up the instructor's badge, which looks like that. A green badge means you're fully qualified. A red or a pink badge means you're not fully qualified, you're still training. And the examiner will write down the number on the back of the badge. And then when the test result is recorded, it gets allocated to your badge number, and that's how instructors build up a pass rate. Now the problem is, you don't have to have this badge on display during a test. If you're giving paid tuition, you need to have it on display. But if it's a driving test, you can just take it out. So that's the way instructors can fiddle it. If you take a pupil for a test and you don't think the pupil's very good, if they don't have a very high chance of passing, you just take your badge out of the car and the result of the fail won't be recorded. If you get a pupil who's really good and is very likely to pass, you can leave your badge in the car and the result is recorded and you get a pass. But all those fails are not being recorded. So there you go, straight away from just reason one alone. We've still got 9 reasons to go yet. And reason one alone is why the whole system doesn't work, because you can simply take your badge out if you choose to. Now I'm proud to say I've never once done that. My badge has always been in the car for every test I've ever done. But some instructors do that. They just take the badge out. And if ever you've done a driving test and you've noticed your instructor's badge is missing, that means your instructor thinks you're going to fail. So a good tip for you there on your driving test, have a look at the bottom left corner of the windscreen where it should be, where the old tax discs used to be. And if the badge isn't there, they probably think you're going to fail. Now you only must have your badge on display for paid tuition, but a driving test is not paid tuition. When my car was stolen just over a year ago, they also stole everything inside my car like my badge. And I phoned up the DVSA and they said to me, remember, you can't give paid tuition unless you've got your badge on display. So for a few days I couldn't charge for lessons. It's not the same for tests though. You can do a test without having your badge in the car because it's not paid tuition. Even though the pupil may be having your time in your car, it's not classed as paid tuition. So that's the main reason why pass rates mean nothing, because simply as instructors we can fiddle them if we choose to. Number 2. Pass rates don't tell you how long the instructor has been teaching for. Let's imagine you've got an instructor who's brand new and they've done 1 test and had 1 pass. They've got a 100% pass rate. Now I've been teaching for 15 years. I was trying to work it out before this video, I've done somewhere around 700 to 800 driving tests. Maybe I've done 1,000, I don't know. So of course my pass rate is going to be lower because I've done so many tests. I've been doing it for years and years and years. So if you compare my pass rate to a brand new instructor who's got 100%, you might think that instructor with 100% is better, but they're not, because they've only done 1 test compared to the hundreds that I've done. Would you rather learn with someone who's done 1 test or someone who's done 800? That's up to you. It's not fair to class all instructors as the same when some of us have been doing it for years and years and years, and our pass rates are bound to be lower simply because of the sheer number of tests that we've done. Number 3. Every area is different. If you work in an area like I do, like Birmingham, the pass rate has sent us here, and this is the official test centre pass rate, where they monitor how many people are passing and failing, regardless of whether the badge is in the car or not. In Birmingham at the moment, it's around 30%, which is low. Birmingham is a very hard place to drive. It's a very busy city, lots of road rage, lots of stress, lots of crazy drivers, as you'll know if you watch my videos. It's harder to pass in Birmingham than somewhere like, for example, in Scotland, where it's very quiet and rural. There's hardly any traffic. It's very open. The roads are simply easier in some areas than others. Now, it's very hard to compare 2 instructors' pass rates when one of them is working in a busy city like Birmingham and the other one is working in the countryside, because one instructor obviously works in a much easier area. I have covered the city centre. Can you imagine what it's like covering city centres like Birmingham? That takes a lot more skill than it does to teach in a rural area where there's nothing but fields and open countryside. And the only hazard you're going to come across is a sheep called Colin who likes to walk across the road in front of you sometimes. So there you go, it depends on the area that you're in as to that can affect your pass rate quite severely. Number 4, automatic cars. Some instructors have a higher pass rate because they simply do tests in automatic cars. And of course it's easier to drive an automatic because you don't have the whole thing about gears, clutch, stalling is rarely a problem. You can stall automatics. I did it myself once, but it's quite hard to do. So yeah, if you take your test in an automatic car and you get instructors who are automatic instructors, that's what we call them. They're not actually automatic themselves, but we call them automatic instructors. You're going to have a higher pass rate generally because you're making it easier for people to pass. Number 5 is the car that you choose to use. So some instructors have cars like this one. This is a very advanced car. Yes, it's a Ford Fiesta. Don't be fooled by the name, it's very advanced. I've got things on here like a button you can press. Press that, it won't let you go over the speed limit. So you can press the gas down and it won't let you speed. I've got cruise control, you can press that button like that and the car does the speed for you. It just cruises at a set speed. You don't have to press the gas. This is an advanced car, yes, but those are features now that more and more cars are having. What I'm talking about is some instructors use things like cars with electronic handbrakes. You see, I've still got an old-fashioned handbrake you have to pull up and down. Some cars have a button. You just press the button on, off, and it can even do it for you. So it's not fair to comparing different instructors when we all use different cars. If you've got a really advanced top-of-the-range car, you're going to have more passes because some cars, for example, there are certain cars out there, when you change gear, you can lift the clutch as badly as you want, and you know how normally it goes bang and it shakes around. This car will bang and shake around. Some cars don't do that because they electronically monitor how fast you're lifting the clutch. It's what you call an electronic clutch. And if you're doing the clutch incorrectly, it takes over and does it for you. So you get a nice smooth connection on the clutch. How nice would that be? So that people could change badly like that, ripping the clutch up, and it would never bounce around. It'd be lovely to have a car like that, but I don't. Not because I can't afford one, but because I choose to teach in a car that will bang around so that people know what's going to happen if they do that in their own car. Because most people are not going to pass and go and buy a fancy car that's got that kind of system. Number 6 is instructors that teach people to pass the test. Now, I've mentioned this many times in videos before. Some instructors, not many, but some, just teach people how to pass the test. And the pupils can pass the test, but then they don't know how to drive. Now, I've never done that. I've always focused on how to drive, not passing a test. So I could take pupils out and I could say, when you get to this junction, do this, and the examiner's watching for this, and we'll practice the same junctions over and over and over again. And then when that pupil passes, they're going to have big problems because all they've done is learn how to drive a specific route to a junction. So yeah, you can teach people how to pass a test and get a higher pass rate. But the thing is, those pupils are going to be having big problems after they've passed. So I've never done that. And if you teach properly, you will generally have a lower pass rate because you're not just teaching people the same routes and the same roads. More people might fail the test, which is a shame, but at least they're driving better. They might not be doing that particular junction better, they might be failing, but they can drive better overall. And that to me is much more important than just passing a test and then having a crash because you didn't actually know what you were doing on other junctions. Number 7 is the test only shows the pupil's ability, not the instructor's. Let's say, for example, that I take a pupil for a test that I haven't taught to drive. This has happened many times when I've had instructors who are friends that are ill or they're going on holiday and they say, I've got a test next week, can you take them for me? And I'll say, yeah, I'll take them for the test. So I take them on the test, they pass, and I get the pass. It goes on my pass rate and I get a good pass. And I haven't even taught them because it's showing the other instructor's ability, it's showing the pupil's ability, it's not showing my ability. So just because you pass with an instructor doesn't mean you learn with them. It only means you're doing well, not that the instructor's doing well. Number 8 is that you might be surprised to learn that some driving instructors rarely ever do driving tests at all. I knew an instructor once who would only teach people to turn left, to turn right, and then as soon as I got to the stage where they wanted to do roundabouts and crossroads, they just let them go. And I asked them why they did that, and they said, I just don't feel comfortable driving around because I keep getting lost and I don't know where I am. and I find it really hard to do those lessons. And I also find that quite bizarre, but this instructor who taught for many years, she trained people to drive, doing left turns, right turns, moving off, and as soon as they were getting to a decent level, she'd get rid of them, which I found bizarre. Not because she was a bad instructor, she was a very good instructor, but she rarely ever took people on tests. I think she said she only did about 2 tests a year. So her pass rate's going to be really high because she's only doing 2 tests a year. Compared to me, I would do about, 30 to 40 tests a year. Number 9 is that some driving instructors actually quote the pass rate of their driving school, not of themselves. So they might say, people ask you, what's your pass rate? And they say 85%. And that's actually the school's pass rate, because maybe they take a handful of their instructors, look at their pass rate, and they put that forward as their overall pass rate, which of course means nothing, because if you cherry pick the best instructors and the best passes, and then you ignore all the other instructors who aren't contributing their pass rates, it means nothing. So always check that you're checking the instructor's pass rate, not the school's pass rate. Number 10 is probably the most obvious one of them all, but it's quite sad to say some instructors just lie. They simply lie about the pass rate. They just say my pass rate's 95%, and that's it. There's no proof, there's no evidence, they just make it up. And I've had times when pupils have said to me on the first lesson, what's your pass rate? And I'll say 100%. And I say, really? I say, yeah, no one's ever failed with me ever. In 15 years, never had a fail. And they'll say, yeah, of course I'm joking. You can make it up. How do pupils know? Pupils haven't got a clue. How can they tell what the pass rate is? And there are many rules like Data Protection Act and whatever, which currently stop pupils from being able to see what an instructor's pass rate is. Now, those things may be changing soon, but for all the reasons I've given you in this video, I don't recommend you take any notice of pass rates whatsoever. The main one is, of course, number 1, the fact that we as instructors, we can fiddle the pass rates by simply removing our badge. That alone is a good enough reason to not take any notice of pass rates. But I hope this video has given you a quick insight into why you should never trust driving instructor pass rates. Hi, so I just got home after filming that video and I realised, whoops, I forgot to film the puzzle, the riddle that I told you about. So here we go. This is all about choosing the best person for the job and how people can easily be fooled. So imagine that you've just moved to a new town and you want to get a haircut. Like mine, you want this classic, expensive haircut that I've got here. You want the best cut you can get. So you go and visit the town centre and you find out there are only 2 hairdressers in the whole of the area. So you go to the first one and his hair is amazing. It looks brilliant. That is the cut that you want. That's what you want to look like. You go and visit the second hairdresser and his hair is a real mess. It's terrible. It looks awful. And you think, why would I want to look like that? Which one of those hairdressers would you have a haircut from and why? If you can choose the correct one and why they're better, let me know in the comments below, and the answer will be written in the description, at the very bottom of the description. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon for more videos.